Hi guys, welcome to Simply Scuba. So if you're thinking about buying your first set of regulators, one of the first things that you'll notice is that they come in two options, A-clamp and DIN. But it's not immediately obvious which is better or which is better for you. So in this video, we're going to be taking a closer look at the pros and cons of both and which one that you should go for. Okay, so first off, you can really separate the differences in three different ways. You've got the size, there's an obvious size difference, there's a weight difference as well, and there's also a working pressure difference, which I'll cover a little bit later. So as you can see, these are both exactly the same first stage. This is the Scubapro Mark 25 Evo. One is in DIN and one is in A-clamp. So DIN will have a screw thread on it, and this screws into the cylinder valve, and the O-ring is just there. This is a white O-ring. And then the A-clamp version goes over the cylinder valve, and that relies on the O-ring that comes on your cylinder. So the first thing I mentioned is size difference. So obviously there is quite a big size difference between the two. DIN is much smaller and more compact. A-clamp is much larger because it has to physically fit over the cylinder valve. So as far as size goes, DIN is much easier to pack down and it fits into smaller spaces. And continuing on from that, obviously the weight is different as well. Because DIN uses far less materials, it's much lighter. So obviously the A-clamp are much more heavier because they have more metal or just simply more material to create this yoke valve. It's much heavier. So if you're really on a sort of stringent budget on how much weight you can fit into your dive bag, then maybe DIN is the way to go. Okay, and the third difference, which is the most sort of fundamental for me, is the working pressure. So A-clamp has a maximum working pressure of 232 bar, which is fine. Their most normal dive cylinders are 232. But DIN valves or DIN sort of first stages, these can go all the way up to 300 bar. There are a few rare occasions where you get a 232 DIN valve, but it doesn't matter. A 300 bar DIN regulator will fit into both 232 cylinders and 300 bar cylinders, so they can take much higher pressure. And because the O-ring is trapped on the inside of the valve instead of just trapped against this face, that's why it can go to that such high pressure. So it's very unlikely that you get any kind of failure in that valve, whereas occasionally you can get some valve sort of failures where the O-ring can slip out of the A-clamp. So as far as safety and that sort of higher working pressure, DIN is definitely the way to go. Okay, so with all that said, A-clamp was very much the first style of sort of connector available, so it's available all around the world. DIN is fairly new to the system, so if you do go to certain countries, especially in the United States and the sort of South Pacific, you may not find DIN cylinders, so you do need an A-clamp adapter. So that's definitely something worth thinking about. If you're going to be diving over in the Caribbean or in the South Pacific, definitely check with your dive center whether their cylinders have just dedicated A-clamp valves on their cylinders or whether they do have the adjustable ones that can take that DIN adapter. So personally myself, I use DIN just because it's much lighter and it goes to that higher working pressure. It's rare that I use a high capacity cylinder all the way up to 300 bar, but still you can use a 300 bar regulator on a 232 cylinder and it's still much safer than an A-clamp regulator. That's why I go for DIN. It's rare that I've come across a problem where I do need to use an A-clamp adapter, but it does happen and you can get some fairly lightweight ones as well and they just stow away in your kit bag. So all in all, I tend to go for DIN, but if you're going to be diving in the States, then it might be worth going for an A-clamp regulator. So that was a quick look at A-clamp versus DIN, but let us know in the comments below which you dive with and why. All of these are available at our website, simplyscuba.com. Thanks for watching and safe diving.
We are an online dive store serving the UK and the world for all your diving equipment needs. So why not visit us at simplyscuba.com or click the box on your screen.